We have another Donald Trump scam to report to you today. Business Insider and the Daily Beast explain Donald Trump used $55,000 of campaign funds to buy thousands of copies of his own book from a retail store, a purchase that could be illegal. The funds went toward buying his book, Crippled America, How to Make America Great Again, from Barnes & Noble, copies of which were handed out as gifts at the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. If Trump accepts royalties from the publisher on the book, purchasing that many copies would amount to shifting donor funds back into his own bank account in illegal practice, campaign finance experts told the Daily Beast. So here's what I don't understand: the laws we have in the country. Because he's doing that, and you have campaign finance experts saying, that could be illegal, son. Don't do it. But then at the same time that's going on, he also jacked up the rent prices at his property once donors started paying the rent, and he was no longer paying the rent. So when it was him, $35,000 was what it cost. As soon as you had other people start to pay for it, and this is at his own properties, remember that, he goes, oh, well, now the rent is $170,000. Now, nobody said in that situation, dude, kind of illegal, pump your brakes, bitch. Everybody was just reporting on it in like a dry, factual way. Like, oh, and he quintupled the rent. Just a heads up to everybody. Like, what do you mean? That's not questionable? Another thing he's done, he paid his golf clubs over $60,000. He's paid his airline, he's got his private plane he flies around, apparently costs $10,000 in fuel per hour to go everywhere, but he pays himself like $425,000 a month or something crazy. And when you match up his costs versus Hillary Clinton's costs, he's paying so much more. And the idea is, people are like, okay, what he's doing is he's taking this donor money and he's going, oh, thank you. We will use this to make America great again. And he's like, how can I get this in my pocket? Like some of the money, and also I don't have the figure in front of me for this one, but a lot of the money he's given to Trump restaurants. And don't get me wrong, Donald Trump, he's not a novice con man. So it's not like he doesn't get how to cover his tracks to a certain extent. So what he'll do is he'll have an event at, one of his golf clubs, and he'll give a speech there, and he'll cater it using his own restaurants. And so he gets to say, well, I don't know why you guys are saying this is fishy. Look, I had an event at my golf club, and I used my own restaurant, so obviously, what am I going to do? There's got to be some transfer of funds, no? So he says that, but then again, when you go into the details, you really got to go with a fine-tooth comb. You find out, oh, shit, he charged 83 times what he was supposed to charge. So it was just another way to get money in his pocket. He's got 1,000,001 scams. Perhaps the oldest trick in the book that he uses is the charity trick. So he'll go out there. He's been doing it for years. He goes, what we're going to do is we're going to take the money. We're going to raise this for charity. That's what we're going to do. We're going to give it to the veterans. That's what we do. We take the money. We give it to the veterans. We're having a fundraiser for the veterans here. You know what we raised? We raised $8 million for the veterans. That's what we raised. $8 million. It was tremendous. Believe me, tremendous. Tremendous. Make America great again. So he goes out there. He says that. Well, we covered the story not that long ago. You had a bunch of different media outlets. They actually did some good investigative journalism, and they went, hold on, man, we called all the charities that you said you donated to. They didn't get the fucking money. Or in some cases, what they did is he had this big event. Remember when he skipped a debate and he did a fundraiser for, vets there? He said he raised $8 million or so. And then they tallied up the money. They're like, dude, you only gave $1 million. You're $7 million short, bitch. So they called up all these people. They're like, we didn't get a check. We didn't get a check. We didn't get a check. All the charities he said he gave to. So eventually what happened? When they call him out on it and they write articles about it, Donald Trump on that same day, then he signed the checks. This is months later. Then he signed the checks and he goes and gives a press conference and berates the media. You guys are liars. That's what you are. There's the media is very, very rigged against Trump. Rigged against Trump. Idiot, we see the fucking date on the check. Who are you kidding? What are you talking about? We know today. We called them today. They said, yeah, we got the check today. So again, he's a fucking con artist is what he is. Who does that with the books? Like, oh, I'm going to buy my own books with the donor funds that I say is not going to me, but it is going to you. You just bought your own books and handed them out. But I actually have an answer to that. This is a very old right-wing trick that many of them do. Dinesh D'Souza did it. Sarah Palin did it. Ann Coulter does it. Mark Levin does it. What they do is they have all these right-wing think tanks that they have deals with. Because you probably wonder, right? Like, you look at the New York Times bestseller list, you're like, how the fuck did Mark Levin get in the top 10? Mark Levin, this radio host who, on the right he's known, in those circles he's known, but nobody's really like, oh my God, I can't wait to listen to Mark Levin on AM radio. He's really not that fucking popular. But somehow he gets in the top 10 on the New York Times bestseller list. It's because it's a trick. They prop it up by buying his books. The right-wing think tanks buy his book, and then they give it out to people, for example, when they join. Or if you sign up for the newsletter or whatever the fuck. So it's an old trick, and look, they've been conning you all along, and he's just continuing to con you here. What, are you really naive enough to think, no, it's totally legit when Trump pays $35,000 for rent previously to the donors paying for it, and then when the donors pay for it, all of a sudden it's $170,000. Are you really going to sit there and defend him on that? Are you really going to say, no, there's nothing weird here, he's not, nickel and diming here? No, that's exactly what he's doing. You know that's what he's doing, and there's just another example of it with how he's scamming you to buy some of his books to take your donor money, which you think is going to get him elected, but instead it's just going into his pocket.